Our next guest is an English professor who stripped in the 90s to pay for her Ph.D. Jennifer Worley always dreamt of being a teacher after college. She packed a bag, flew over 2,500 miles away from her family to pursue her dreams in San Francisco. But when she found herself strapped for cash, struggling to balance grad school and work, a listing for a job at a strip club paying $22 an hour sounded like a lifeline to her. So she slipped on a pair of her heels, she says, and then she took to the stage, dancing her way to a degree at San Francisco peep show Lusty Lady. And while Jennifer found her personal empowerment on the stage, she quickly discovered that fellow dancers were being discriminated against and left vulnerable to exploit. So she took matters into her own hands, speaking up about unsafe work conditions, rallying the women, and changing the industry forever. She writes about it in her memoir, Neon Girls. And Jennifer joins us now from her home in San Francisco, California. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us. This is like I'm ready for Julia Roberts or somebody to play you in a movie. This is one of these things that you can't imagine happening there. Here you are, you were successfully studying in college, and you write about your hesitation for auditioning for the job at Lusty Lady. How did your opinion of the industry change when you saw the ad, and how much of it really was, I need this money, I need to pay these bills?
Yeah, thanks, Tamron. I was in my early 20s and living in San Francisco, which was really a different world back then. And I was working and going to graduate school studying English. And it was a struggle to be a student and pay my bills, live independently. And I saw an ad in the paper saying, hey, you can make $22 an hour, which was a ton at that time in the
Yeah.
90s. And so I decided to look into it. I really hesitated because, because of the issues that you addressed earlier in the show about, is this exploitation? How do I feel about this as a woman? Am I exploiting myself? But I decided I needed the money. I needed to be able to support myself. I needed to do my best in school. And so I went and checked out the club, and right from walking in, it was really different than what I imagined. It was a peep show. The woman who met me to take me in to see the show was a young Black woman, and she immediately, when I got there, ordered a white man to clean up the room that we were going in to watch the show, which was kind of this amazing moment of a Black woman saying, "Hey, go do some mopping and do some housework," to a guy, and it went from there. Once I got on the stage, the women that I encountered were just so powerful and so assertive, and they really ran the show. And it started to change the way I thought about the industry.
Right, but I mentioned at the beginning of our show that we were conflicted, like how do you do a show talking about RBG and then you transition to the life of a stripper? But as I said, going into, you unionized the women there, and you were inspired to take a stand. How hard of a battle was that? Because it is a male-dominated industry. I know the ad said it would be a fun, place to work, but once you got there, you realized that you were going to be objectified, that men would think that you were there for their pleasure and they could do anything to you they wanted to. And that included the management.
Yeah. So there were, in spite of the Lusty Lady being kind of feminist, having that kind of pro-woman take, there really were some problems. Primarily, we were being surreptitiously videotaped without our knowledge and without our consent and without payment. And then there were some pretty severe racial discrimination going on, particularly targeting Black dancers. So that so we really responded to that. And I do have to say that when we began organizing, it was a whole group of us. It wasn't just me. I didn't start the union. I was one of probably 10 or 12 women who worked together and said, hey, does this bother you? Yeah, I really don't like being videotaped without my knowledge, or I really don't like being told I can't do particular parts of the job because I'm Black. So we really banded together and we worked together. It was a huge struggle. We had heard about people being blacklisted for trying to organize clubs before. We had heard a rumor about a dancer being killed,
Oh, my.
by a club that was owned by organized crime. So, we were afraid, and we were afraid of losing our
But in
jobs.
the
But
end, you won. You won. And you
The
won
organ-
for women to be liberated at that club that you'd once worked at.
Very much, yes. We won in the end, and we really did
Yeah.
see it as a struggle for our rights as women to determine our own working conditions. So we,
Well,
yes,
you
we
know what? The sisterhood is real. As I said at the beginning of the show, whether you approve of the occupation or not, the fact that you stood together to help other women is tremendous. And thank you for joining us to share your story. Congratulations on the book as well.